up, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today, by far one of the most requested stories from over the weekend. I am just going to try and get through it really quick. This is more in the realm of drama that stemmed from a news story, but people just keep asking me about it, so let's just knock it out. And this news situation stems from last week's PewDiePie controversy. That, of course, one of the largest YouTubers on the platform said this.
What a fucking nigger. Jeez, oh my god, what the fuck?
There's a big reaction, PewDiePie apologized, another big reaction. We talked about it last week, so I'm fast-tracking through the specifics. And then another massive YouTuber by the name of Ethan Klein, who of course is one half of H3H3 Productions, talked about this on his podcast. And before we move forward, I want you to know that there is no way that I can be completely unbiased. I like Ethan, I've been on his podcast, we helped raise money for him with his lawsuit. When we didn't have a studio, he let us use his place for a week. So there's history there, and I think that's important for transparency's sake. But back to the story on the H3 podcast, Ethan says something that ends up resulting in a lot of people saying that he was a hypocrite. Now, I know Ethan has tweeted, many people are saying is the oldest trick in the book of shady journalism to express a biased opinion without actually explicitly saying it. And to Ethan, I would say that is true in some instances. When you have instances like Donald Trump saying, well, a lot of people are saying that Ted Cruz's father maybe was connected to the assassination of Kennedy, that's a trick. But if you look at the number of dislikes, the amount of people tweeting and making videos saying, I think that you're a hypocrite, that's just stating a fact. Now, you can easily argue that the person that's saying it, they may have the intent to make more people think that that is true because they don't also maybe provide a counterpoint of what other people are saying. But if you look at the public information that's out there, it was true. Okay, so what did he say? Let's take a look.
He dropped the N-bomb, and he dropped it pretty hard. When I first saw that, I was pretty shocked. I'm like, dude, come on, man. You know, like, this kind of shit really reflects poorly on all of us. Yeah. I wasn't like angry, I was more like disappointed. Like, damn, dog, really? It's completely indefensible this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he really just dropped the N-bomb, like, straight up. And the way he used it was just awful.
Now, some people were angry because they saw Ethan and Felix as people that were friends. And so for just that reason, they were saying that was a backstab. And then you had others saying that Ethan was a hypocrite because of his friendship and support of Ian, aka iDubbbz. In his videos, iDubbbz has said,
"Say nigger." My name's Ian, and I'm a nigger faggot.
And on the H3 podcast, when Ian was on, Ethan said,
Ian's the kind of guy who his slogan is nigger faggot. And I'm not going to get in trouble because I'm just quoting him.
But this is something Ethan also talks about in that H3 podcast where he's talking about PewDiePie.
And look, there's different ways to use the N-word. Like iDubbbz used it, okay. And first of all, I understand people who would criticize iDubbbz and say that's fucked up the way you use it. But at least in iDubbbz, there's context. He did it as a point to make a joke, to make a parody of Tana Mongeau, who in the past had dropped N-bombs and then tweeted at him saying, oh, how dare you use racial slurs.
Yeah.
And so the way he did it was very specific and very smart. It was very rhetorical and very smart the way he used it. Whether you and people who are offended, it's certainly defensible because it's still an offensive word. But in this case, there's no context.
And as far as the context defense, let's explain that. Well, I've personally been on the site for over a decade, and when I hear that phrase, I don't think of Ian. I think of that old Derek comedy sketch.
Your word is nigger faggot.
Side note, props to Donald Glover for those 2 Emmy wins last night. But even though that's the first time I ever heard that in comedy, it's often associated with iDubbbz. The context of that phrase is Ian has a series where he makes fun of Kickstarters. The owner of one of those Kickstarters made a vlog where he calls Ian the word, and so Ian began using it to make fun of it. But it also appears that maybe Ian's use of it has evolved from the original use of the phrase, feeding into his argument.
It's either all okay or none of it's okay.
And then separately, the moments we see Ethan using the phrase, he has iDubbbz on, he says, I'm quoting him, but then he goes on to use it again and again, even Ian saying that he was using it a bit liberally. So that's part of the reason people are saying that Ethan's being a hypocrite here, whereas others are saying, no, that's the joke. Joke is it's messed up, but you gave me a pass. Right? People are gonna have different opinions on that. Now, as far as what I think, is there a difference in the way that iDubbbz did it and Felix did it? Yeah. And once again, this is not me saying whether it was okay or not. Ian's use of it is almost an attempt to diffuse language. There's context there, there's a point trying to be made. In situations like we saw with Felix.
What a fucking nigger.
In situations like we saw in the past with Tana Mongeau.
You fucking nigger.
That was a word being used in a derogatory way. In Tana's situation, direct. In Felix's situation, it was less than direct. It was about someone he was dealing with. But I want to pass the question off to you. Do you think that difference matters? Are we talking about okay versus not okay, or we're talking about hate versus stupid? I'm very interested in your takeaway from this, so let me know what you're thinking in those comments down below. From that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace, of course, a fantastic place to make a beautiful, professional-looking website. Use Squarespace's intuitive, easy-to-use, all-in-one platform. There's nothing to install install, patch, or upgrade ever. And so if you want to start your free trial like many from the nation already have, go to squarespace.com/Phil. And if you really like it, use coupon code Phil for 10% off your first purchase. And the first bit of awesome is you beautiful bastards. I want to thank everyone who has been voting so far for us to win Best Show of the Year for the Streamies. It's those votes that'll hopefully help us beat out the Young Turks and those big bastards over at BuzzFeed. Just thank you to those of you that are going to votetofranco.com. You're putting out that daily tweet. Thank you to those clicking on the links in the description to other tweets that have the right hashtags and retweeting those, because those count as votes too. But no matter what happens, thank you as always. Then we got a trailer for the new Jennifer Lawrence movie Red Sparrow, and it essentially sounds like the origin story for Black Widow, but hey, since that's not a thing, Red Sparrow. Then we got a really cool short film from Cub Studio. It's called Love at First Swipe. It's at like 23,000 views right now, but I think you'll enjoy it. Then we recently got a new Red Band trailer for The Shape of Water, and it looks so good. The more that comes out for this movie, the more I am excited. Then we have the Today I Found Out YouTube channel putting out a video on where the term "I'll eat my hat," where'd that come from? I highly recommend guessing and then watching the video. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. Then let's talk about why Elijah Daniel was back in the news this week. Elijah, if you don't remember, was recently in the news after there was mass outrage that he became the mayor of hell, an actual place in America. Soon after he received that position, he banned all heterosexuals from town. But the real story is it was a gimmick, it was a joke, it was just for trolling. So there was that, but then it appeared that Elijah was not happy with the number of people infuriated by his joke, and so he decided to do something that he announced in a tweet, saying, "I'm going to rewrite the Bible, but change it to be gayer just to piss straights off." And 2 days later, he actually did that when he released the Holy Bible, but gayer, on Amazon. In his version, it's Adam and Steve, God is Rihanna, Satan is Donald Trump, and Jesus turns water into mimosas. And very quickly, Elijah's Bible made it to the #1 bestseller spot in the Christian ebook section, also receiving a ton of positive reviews. But before Elijah and his fans could fully rejoice, the book was kicked out. It was made unavailable for order, Elijah saying the book got banned, then announcing that he was selling the PDF version on his website for $2.99. But around this removal, you had people angry and happy about this. Some saying good, it was disrespectful, offensive, attacking religion. Others decrying this move, saying it is just blatant censorship. But there, I will say, as someone that is against censorship, it doesn't necessarily look like this is censorship. If you look at Amazon's content policy as far as self-published books, there's areas where it looks like maybe the book violated something. Things like no pornography in Elijah's version, there's sex just like the Bible, but the Bible wouldn't have to follow the same rules. But that said, since this story blew up, the ban happened, Amazon sent an email saying that this was a mistake and has since reinstated the book, so Amazon seems to be fine with it. So that's the situation, and here's my takeaway from it. One, my initial reaction to this, and it doesn't even pertain to this story, is I can tell that Elijah loves to be edgy, but I also bet he wouldn't do this with a certain other holy book. Two, while Elijah revealed his purpose for doing this from the get-go was to piss off straight people, right, we already know that he likes to troll, but it also, by him changing certain parts of the Bible, it exposes you to some of the weird stuff that's in it. There's a part in Elijah Daniel's Bible where he writes, "Let's get our daddy to drink mimosa and then lie with him and preserve our family line through our father." That night, they got their daddy to drink mimosa and the other daughter went in and literally raped him. This is really in the fucking Bible. Isn't that insane? I only changed a few words. This shit is in the Bible. He was not aware of it when she laid down or when she got up. I mean, that's a thing that's actually in the Bible. For those of you that have not read the Bible or did not have to go to Catholic school like I did, you have this guy Lot who lives with his family in Sodom. Two angels arrive in Sodom and Lot is hospitable to them, lets them stay at his house, but then the men of Sodom, they surround Lot's house and demand that Lot give them the angels so they can rape them. But instead, Lot says, "Hey, how about you have my 2 virgin daughters?" The men of the mob say, "No, we want the angels." The angels then blind them. They warn Lot to leave Sodom before it's destroyed. He leaves with his 2 virgin daughters. His wife gets turned into a pillar of salt. But the 3 of them, they escape. They're living in a cave. And at this point, Lot's daughters realize that they're not going to be able to find a man. They realize no men, no sex, no babies, no family line. So they get their father drunk 2 nights in a row and they have sex with him without his knowledge. They both end up getting pregnant and then eventually have those babies. So as an odd side effect to this obvious trolling, we get to educate ourselves a little more on what's in there. And finally, 3, I want to pass the question off to you. What is your takeaway from making fun of religions? I mean, from the years of doing this show covering stories, I've seen a lot of people offending or attacking religion. And it's so interesting to see how the opinions around stories like this change over the years. When you had Charlie Hebdo make fun of the Prophet Muhammad and then their place got shot up, you had a lot of people saying, "Je suis Charlie," that this should never happen, no matter how disrespectful it is, that we have to allow that freedom. But we also saw a lot of pushback. A lot of people saying, "Well, what do you expect?" And my response to this day is that words and images should not be met with bullets. But then you see a different response from different people when Charlie Hebdo goes after the Catholic Church. They also had a recent cover that kind of connected the victims of one of the hurricanes in America to white supremacy. But ultimately, where I always land is, while I may be personally disgusted by some things, or I understand why people are infuriated by something, I do think that it should be allowed. Obviously, Amazon's policies for this specific specific kind of release, that's one thing. But yeah, let me know what your takeaway is from this. And then let's talk about the really big news out of St. Louis. On Friday, former police officer Jason Stockley was acquitted of murdering Anthony Lamar Smith. And so what we're seeing from this is in St. Louis protests that are then devolving into riots at night. But before we jump into that part, let's talk about the shooting incident. The incident occurred on December 20th, 2011, and Smith was shot by police after a high-speed chase. And there's dashcam footage that shows most of everything, so let's walk through that. In it, we see now former officer Jason Stockley and his partner Brian Bianchi. They confront Smith after he allegedly engaged in a drug deal in the parking lot of a Church's Chicken. The thing of note is that at this time, Smith was out on parole. He had previously been convicted of drug distribution, theft, and illegal gun possession. Although Kirkland Taylor, Smith's friend, he said he met Smith for lunch and had brought his son, saying Smith had no gun and there was no drug deal happening. So notes that will be important later. In the video, police order Smith to stop. Instead, Smith tries to maneuver his car so that he can flee. We see him hit the police SUV and Stockley. Smith manages to flee out of the parking lot, and Stockley fires one shot after the fleeing car. Then during the pursuit, it has been suggested that in the dashcam audio, you can hear Stockley say he is going to, quote, "going to kill this motherfucker, don't you know it?" And once they catch up to Smith's car, this happens.
Hit him right now!
Then in the following moments, we don't have audio, but according to the police report, there are a few moments of non-compliance, and then we see Stockley fire 4 shots into the car, fatally wounding Smith. Stockley saying he thought Smith was reaching for a weapon and he acted in self-defense. And this is an important moment for the case against Stockley, not just because he fired the weapon, but because the prosecution pointed out that if you look at Officer Bianchi, he doesn't have his gun drawn as he approaches the vehicle, and it doesn't appear that he thinks Smith is a threat at any time, but others argue he could just be in shock. Then in the footage we see after backup arrives, Stockley steps away and returns his unused rifle to the SUV, and then we see later he goes back to the car and rummages through his duffel bag. Stockley later claiming that he was getting a first aid kit, while Smith's family and prosecution claim that he was getting a gun to plant in the car. But there is no clear view in the video of what he grabs. Then once Smith is pulled out of the car, Stockley gets into the driver's seat. According to the initial report, Stockley went to locate the weapon and render it safe. And in the car, they said they found a bag of heroin with Smith's DNA on it, and they also found a gun that ended up only having Stockley's DNA on it. And so this happened before Ferguson, before 2014, and at that time, the St. Louis police investigated police-involved shootings internally. And for this case, they decided there was not enough evidence to charge Stockley with homicide. Then in 2013, Stockley left the force to move to Houston. That same year, the St. Louis Metro Police Department pays out $900,000 in settlement money to Smith's family. And then in 2016, the FBI and police discovered new evidence, though it's not clear exactly what that was, but whatever it was prompted charges to be filed against Stockley. So then what happened? Well, Stockley waived his right to a trial by jury, so only a judge decided on his case. And on Friday, the verdict was announced, and it was not guilty. Judge Timothy Wilson saying, "This court in conscience cannot say that the state has proven every element of murder beyond a reasonable doubt, or that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant did not act in self-defense." And on the claims that the gun was planted, the judge said, "Finally, the court observes, based on its nearly 30 years on the bench, that an urban heroin dealer not in possession of a firearm would be an anomaly." And that quote had a lot of people saying the judge's bias was showing there. He's assuming something based off of cases of other people, though people argued against that, saying, well, that's essentially historical data. And after the verdict was announced, people took to the streets in protest. And as we've seen time and time again, it appeared that we had people peacefully protesting, just trying to express their frustration, and then violent people. This is something Police Chief O'Toole even hit on.
Many of the demonstrators were peaceful. However, after dark, many agitators began to destroy property and assault police officers.
And on Friday night, we saw hundreds of protesters gathering to shut down an interstate. Then, when they were stopped by police, some went to the house of St. Louis Mayor Lyda Krewson. There, people broke 2 windows, they threw red paint at the house. From there, some went elsewhere to smash windows, tear down American flags in order to burn them. We saw some throwing rocks and unidentified liquids at officers. St. Louis police even tweeting out photos of projectiles being thrown at them, including the caption, "Rocks and water bottles thrown at officers throughout the day." Officers used great restraint. That said, it does appear the police responded with tear gas and pepper spray. And ultimately, the clashes that night ended with 9 officers injured and 33 arrests. Then on Saturday, we saw a day filled with peaceful demonstrations, hundreds of peaceful protesters. That lasted throughout the day, and by 9 p.m., protest organizers announced that they were ending for the day. But it appears that other people had other plans. Again, we saw people come out to destroy property and clash with police. And on Saturday, 7 people were arrested. Then on Sunday, we saw protests continue. And once again, we saw it start off peaceful, and then the night devolved into violence. St. Louis police tweeting out photos of confiscated weapons and protective gear. Police saying that officers were assaulted and attacked with chemicals. Police responded by using non-lethal force like rubber bullets, pepper spray, and all of this led to more than 80 arrests on Sunday. There was also criticism of police aside from the pepper spray and the rubber bullet. This because video seems to show, and journalists on the ground said the police started chanting, "Whose streets? Our streets?" This after making arrests. And according to David Carson, he said, "I spoke with the commander at the scene. He said he did not hear the chant, but said chant was not acceptable, said he would deal with it." And with that said, that's where we are right now. So far today, we're seeing peaceful protesters taking to the street again, but does that also mean that we're going to see another night of violence? As of right now, now, I just don't know. This could be just the beginning, or it could start to dwindle. But I do want to ask you, what are your takeaways from all of that dashcam footage? Do you feel like Stockley should have been found guilty, or no, he was defending himself? What do you think about the allegations that he planted a gun? The audio where it sounds like he says he's going to kill this motherfucker, do you think that obviously shows intent? Or are you of the mindset of people that have argued that's something he said just in the heat of the moment? I'd love to know your thoughts on this story, the first one, anything in between in those comments down below. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I try and do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you don't miss these daily looks at the world, which actually, if you did miss the last Philip DeFranco show, you can click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want to see today's brand new behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.